Hey guys, welcome back to Outdoor Asylum. Brad Allen with Elite Duck Calls. Got David St. John here with me again, and we got Dusty McDaniel back. Finally got him back in the house.
He's back.
Been a Yankee here. Where are you? Where are you been going?
Man, all over the state of Arkansas, here, there. I think I go to Wisconsin next week.
How was that? I know she had a little bit of accent. You picked up a little bit of Wisconsin stuff there.
Wisconsin. So
yeah. No plans to move there anytime soon?
No. Good beer. But
did you decide to come back or did they kick you out?
I was asked to. You
were asked to leave?
Return to my actual state of residence. So.
Now, you've been doing a little turkey hunting, too. You said you've been pretty hard on the turkeys.
Yeah, we did pretty good. A couple of states and had good luck. Arkansas started slow but kind of picked up. I think the warm March just kind of put everything ahead. It was, if you turkey hunt, then you can follow suit whether you believe that or not. But first week of season was like last week normally. Just gobblers already back together, calling up lone hens that are sitting on nests in the area, just real slow, not much gobbling, not much activity, at least where we hunt in Arkansas. And got to go out to Texas. That was a different story. Rios like to talk. They're kind of goofy and dumb, and it makes you feel real good about yourself. So we took advantage of that and got a couple.
Look at there, I can call it turkey.
Yeah, I can call it 30 at one time and pick them. But like I said, it's real. I know people that had great, I know people that didn't, that had them on cameras, been watching them, and just never heard them. Just it was over. The one I killed in Arkansas was by himself and came in on a string, textbook, like you put it down to play, in 29 steps, he's done. And then the other one, the area we normally hunt that one of the guys killed, he gobbled one time on the roost, and 4 o'clock that afternoon, he finally got in front of him and killed him. Just kind of knew where he was headed and just had to wait him out. And he came in to call him, but never made a sound, and there was 3 of them together, gobblers. That's odd this time of year. Most of the time they're fighting and stuff like that. So I just think it was late, just with the warm weather. It kind of got them in the mood earlier. And so, but no, I'm not complaining. I got turkey in the freezer, fans on the wall. So good to go.
There you go. Well, last week we talked a little bit about some of the Arkansas game and fish regs with the spinning wing decoys and stuff like that. So we'll talk about some more stuff related to Arkansas game and fish and regulations and things like that in a minute. But I've got to go ahead and get this out of the way because David's not going to let me live this down.
I'm not going to let him live this down.
This is one of those things that other people, thank God you weren't here.
I haven't heard the story yet, so I'm ready.
Oh, just get ready.
It's one of those things that, like, I really wish nobody else really knew about this because I'd like to take it to the grave. But it's one of those things that too many people know about it, and there's way too much evidence left behind. So you just have to own this one. I nearly burned the shop down, Dusty. What happened was I was like, what month was this, David?
February.
February.
Yeah, it was in February.
So we have a lot of boxes here.
Yep.
That come into the shop, and so they pile up, got to get rid of them. So I'm going to burn them. And I've been doing that since
forever.
Yeah. Well, and it was wet. I try to be smart about it. Even though I was extremely stupid this time, I try to be smart about it. It was wet. There's water standing out there in the ditches. So I go out there and I burn these boxes. But what I wasn't thinking about was it's not so much that the grass was wet or dry. It was brown. This was all the grass was dead. We worked hard on the yard out there, so we had a good Bermuda, out there. And Bermuda. You don't call it Bermuda, do you? I mean, that's the triangle. It's Bermuda grass, right? Bermuda triangle. Isn't that how it goes?
Bermuda.
You say Bermuda?
Bermuda.
I think it's Bermuda.
I have the environmental science degree. It's Bermuda.
That's Bermuda.
Yeah, but you got a
BERM.
What they call it in Wisconsin? What they say?
I don't think they can grow Bermuda in Wisconsin.
Okay, all right. In the comments, you guys help me out here. Bermuda or Bermuda? I don't even know how they would.
You sound like you've had too much rum in Jamaica. We on the Bermuda Triangle.
And I didn't say twiangle.
Triangle.
Anyway. All right, what is the damn grass? Okay?
You burnt the grass.
The damn grass was
grass.
brown. And so I set the boxes on fire. And I was, had a fire going. I come back in, get more boxes, come back out. And I had gotten some box, I came back out and I noticed it had burned around the edges a little bit. And I thought, well, I better wet that some more. So made sure it was out, came back in here, got some more boxes. And then I come back out and it's out. I mean, like this fire has taken off and I saw
the wind had picked up.
Yeah.
A little bit. Not a lot, a little bit.
Yeah, that is true. When I started, there was no wind. And once I started going, it picked up a little bit. And it was, but anyway, I saw it getting out. So I got a bucket of water and I'm going to wet the edges. I think I could stomp that out in no time, wet the edges. And when I come out, it's out. Like it's big time. We got a problem on our hands now.
You got to understand, he went out the back door, and it wasn't seconds later. He come running back in, and I said, everything okay? He looked at me and goes, I need help. I need help. So I'm going, what? He's, I got a fire, you know. So we go outside. He said, it's out of control. And when I walk out there, I went, whoa. I mean, that sucker's creeping across that ground coming right at us.
Man, it's just good habitat management. Just, you know, burning your dead grass off. People pay good money for that.
It's a heart attack. Like, I don't have to go get a stress test at the hospital
You're
anytime
good.
soon. Yeah, if I didn't have a heart attack in February, I'm good for another year or two at least.
He looked at me and he said, you think we ought to call 911? I went, you bet we do. As we're running around.
This one of those things, you're stomping
So you
out.
had the Searcy Fire Department come out here. And
we called for the fire department, and now technically we're right out here. The road that runs right by the shop is the center. That dotted line is the line of the county. So we're not in Searcy city limits. We're in the county. But to their credit, and hats off to both fire departments. If anybody out there, if y'all are watching, we love you. We sat out there, man, stomping fire, and we were swinging wet towels.
I had a piece of cardboard that I had my feet on, pushing it out, trying to drag it out and put it out. I get one edge out, go the other side, turn around, it done caught back on this edge over here.
So does Elite Duck Calls on the water hose now?
There's another thing. We turned. we went and got one. It's over on the behind the showroom.
Yeah.
Well, Braden was running water in here, so the water pressure was way down out there at the hose, and we couldn't get decent pressure. Not really thinking about it at the time. You're not thinking at the time. It's like, my God, everything's on fire. Let's put it out. So, he's running water in there to get a bucket. The hose is just, I mean, I could have urinated further than this hose was shooting water. Okay, if I to try to put this fire out, it was weak. Another thing that was scary, you know, I've just got my parents. They were retired in Mountain View.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's had some health problems and was starting dialysis, so we've ended up moving them back down here to Searcy. They're in a house here in Searcy, but at the time
they're hanging out in the back of the shop.
In the back of the shop in a small apartment that we have back here. So I'm sitting here like, man, I just burned a shop down. I just burned my business down. I might have killed my parents. You know, the fire is heading toward my parents. My father, who is connected at this point to a dialysis machine.
Yeah.
So my mother comes out there and she's like, you know,
I was going to say, I could see Big Daddy Mr. Allen come out and, Brad, what in the? I could see him letting
it wasn't any of that. But mom came out. I told my mother, I'm like, is Dad hooked up to? She's like, yeah. I said, unhook him right now, y'all, because you know, things get away.
Those things move fast. Grass type
especially
brush.
when that wind picked up out of the south.
Grass type brush fires is not like a contained kind of house fire where you know where the fuel's at. It's the house. Where grass, it just goes as far as it wants to go, and embers are leaping and stuff like a forest fire.
And all I was thinking about too, besides just going here, is hitting this big field out here beside us, and that grass is taller. And you know, because the grass we had was about an inch and a half, but it was dry and brown on the top of it. Now, the bottom of it, like Brad said, it was wet. You could walk across there and leave foot tracks. But the top of it was dry and brown. And, I mean, when it took off, every time you turned around after you put one side out, the other side's lit back up. And when that wind died down, it started headed back to the south toward the propane tank behind the showroom. Yeah. And Braden's around here, and it went completely around the building and started going up toward the road. and by the air conditioner unit. And it was Miss Paulette was out there with a wet towel, slinging a wet towel.
She brought wet towels out there. We're like, we got no pressure in the hose. It's like Little House on the Prairie when we got a fire. Okay, we're out here swinging.
Got the fire brigade, the hand pump buckets.
Oh,
we're swinging wet towels. And thank God for Braden out here. Braden, what? Yeah. How old is Braden? 21, 22 years old?
22, 23?
Something
23?
like that.
I think he just turned 23.
We're out here, Dave and I about to have heart attacks. You know, we're out of shape. We're old. We're out here. We're about to have heart attacks. He comes out here, this young guy. He's got a wet towel. And I'm telling you, if the Terminator was trying to kill you with a wet towel, that's what it looked like. I mean, he was out there.
He was getting with it.
He was swinging that
He looked
towel.
like that cowboy trying to save the barn, didn't he?
I'm telling you.
I even reached for my phone because I had it on the clip on my belt, and it was gone. My phone was in the middle of the grass fire. It was, and I just looked at Brad and I said, lost my phone.
So the fire department came.
The rural fire department got here, the White County, and man, I tell you what, I heard them coming, and I'm over here trying to stomp this fire and do anything I can to keep it from hitting the showroom, the wooden showroom over here. And I'm just, man, that was the sweetest sound. When I finally heard that siren, and I'm like, y'all please, you know, and then I think it'd be my luck. They're going to some other, you know, emergency.
Just drive past you and you're like, what?
I'd have just lost it and started weeping at that point. But they showed up, and even when they first got here, I don't think they realized how bad it was because they were kind of looking at one side of the building, didn't realize that it had wrapped around, that they were working on this out here.
Yes.
A small section out front by the road, and didn't realize that, you know, David's out here staving flames off the propane tank, and so we're in trouble there. But they came out, and right behind them, Cersei pulled in. So both fire departments responding like that, you know, and it was just happened to be that the county got here just a minute faster. That was really impressive. I appreciated that, and don't think that the fire department down here didn't get some barbecue. That week at their next meeting, I delivered some barbecue with a little donation check for it was a small donation, but I was like, God, you guys saved my rear end out here. But yeah, that was
the grass looks really good now.
Well, I was going to say what was really funny was one of the firemen that knows Brad turned and looked at him. He goes, "Well, positive about this." He said, "You'll have some pretty green grass." Mm-hmm. I started laughing, and I kind of looked at Brad, and he said, "He don't realize you hate to mow."
I mean, you got to think about it. People in neighborhoods with fancy sodded yards, they'll pay companies to come in and burn their yard off with Bermuda. I mean, they'll do that.
Well, I'm for hire. If anybody needs me to come out there
and duck calls don't work out, you're a grass burning fool.
I'm good at
control burn in the city.
I don't know about the control,
I'm good
but grass burning aficionado.
That's right.
He's got it down.
Yeah, and
we need to get you an elite burn barrel for the boxes, like
yes,
a
we
contain.
do. We need to put a sticker, have the
we'll get some metal cut in it.
Yeah, metal cut the logo into it and stuff like that. But yeah, that was a. You know, and that was one of the things said in the aftermath. You know, it's kind of like the fire's out, and we all just stop. You know, my heart's still pounding. You know, and I'm looking at David and Braden. I'm like, all right, you know, which two of you cowards just crap my pants? You know, I'm about to lose it. And then that's one of the first things one of the fire said. Well, you're going to have a really green yard, and I'm like, I'm going to be buried underneath this green grass. Is what's about to happen. I mean, I'm in the process of a coronary here, but anyway,
that wasn't the only thing. Fire-wise that happened. It was a couple weeks later. Mm-hmm. Brad was walking in the shop, and I just opened the door. Brad said, "What was that?" And we looked up, and there was a car on fire driving down the highway and stopped right out here on the highway on 67, right in front of the shop.
And it's going up quick.
And it's coming out through the motor. The tires are burning. And this guy's taking his time getting out. Brad said, "You got to get out." Brad, he's done come back in here and got a fire extinguisher and ran out and jumped the fence to go on the highway.
I'm still dealing. What was this? A week later? 2 weeks later?
A week or two later.
I'm still dealing with PTSD from our fire. And he comes flaming in here in a car. And I don't know how many people are in here. So I run in here and I grab a fire extinguisher. It's what? About like a little small fire extinguisher. And I run out there like Fireman Dave. I jump the fence, and I know
you jump the
fence.
The best part of the story is you jump the fence.
Again, well, it shows you how scared I was. You know, Yeah, well, let's don't say jump. Let's say stepped over. I'm 6'4".
Okay.
I can step over.
You giraffe the fence.
Yeah, I giraffe the fence.
I was waiting for that back leg to get hung.
Your face plant right in front.
Here
Here you go, buddy.
Y'all just throw it to him. Get here.
Now, mind you, while he's doing that, this guy's he's finally got his car door open. It's like he was in no hurry.
Yeah. I took that little fire extinguisher. I knew that. I mean, that car was going. So it was like, this is,
Car fires are scary. Like equipment, car fires are scary.
Is it going to blow up?
Because of you got a gas tank on them.
Yeah.
And that's
it was scary. But I took that out there just like I want to get. If there's children in this car, we got people in here. Maybe this little fire extinguisher can get them out. I can spray them as they're coming out or something. Whatever. Let's haul everybody out of this thing and then get back. So we had 2 traumatic fires right there back to back. But
and all I could think about was the fire coming across the ditch, jumping the road, and now
here we go again on the front side. Here we go.
Front.
Get the towels out, boys. Get the towels out.
All I could think about was it blowing up while I was out there trying to put it out because I've seen movies. I know how this stuff works. It was I didn't want to get exploded out there, but anyway. But all right, so game and fish. We'll get off of my embarrassing moments at least for the.
So when is Elite's fire sale on duck calls?
The fire sale, they're half melted. Yeah.
Fire sale. Commemorative flame throwing duck call.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
That's not engraved flames on one.
You'll have to do it. I can't watch it.
February 2024.
All right, so game and fish. We talked about the spinning wing decoys. They're debating. I guess is it still in negotiations?
I think so. Their process as any state agency is old school parliamentary procedure. You'll have a committee review things and make a proposal to go before the full committee to be yay or nay. Where it's at right now with a lot of stuff you see on social media and going around, that past meeting that was on YouTube, the regulatory committee approved a proposal for mechanized decoys or whatever it was on WMAs was their exact wording. That doesn't mean they're back. That doesn't mean they're here, they're anywhere. That means they approved a proposal to some form of fashion, probably let them back, that will go before the committee to vote on, which I think they do in June or July meeting, and then it'll be
approved it like August.
The August approval, something like that.
So they didn't specify spinning wing.
No, that's the fun. So if you go watch on the YouTube, it's around the 1 hour mark, like 1 hour and 3 minutes, 4 minutes, right after the 1 hour mark. They specifically, his wording was specific. Trying to quote this, the guy who read it off, proposed by Naylor was, and it said mechanized decoys on WMAs. So it didn't say public grounds. It didn't say spinning wing. It just said mechanized. And so like we were talking, is that just jerk strings? Is that going to be spinning wings? I don't know. I think it is odd that they specifically said that because otherwise they might have said wing simulation, which has always been in the book. So it's odd they said mechanized and said WMAs.
So potentially swimmers.
Yeah, like swimmers, an old Mallard machine maybe.
No wonder ducks.
Something like that, and not wing simulated, but just mechanized decoys for like jerk string stuff. Which, honestly, that would probably, everybody's arm gets tired after a while. That wouldn't be a bad thing.
I know a producer over there, Jake's a purist. He didn't want any kind of batteries at all. Me personally,
that's why he's got forearms like Mike Tyson.
We'll leave that.
He's
right
the
there.
jerk man.
I think we'll just leave that sitting. But
he's over there with 2 hands.
Yeah, I don't have really a problem. I don't like spinning wing, but as far as like swimmers or something like that, that doesn't bother me as much.
I think the argument is whether putting. I'm the same way. I don't care for any of it. I'm the purist. I think the more gimmicks you put in, the more you educate ducks and actually make it harder in the long run. So, but on the flip side of that, I do get the issue of why can one guy on one side of the fence have 100 of them in his spread and I can't on the other? I get that. Now, you could play the whole American dream thing of, well, go get your own private land, you can do it. Right. I get both sides of the argument. It's just one of those things. Some people like them, some people don't. And, I'm not a fan of them. I think they actually hurt you. If they release them back out, will they work at daylight? Sure. Will they work for a year or two, maybe like they did when they first come out? Probably a little bit. But probably not really, because they're already being used on private ground. They see them. They see them the whole flyway down.
They get
all the way down.
And so, I mean, as far as ducks finishing, the further we have gotten away from the year when they did outlaw them on WMAs, the better the ducks react. I mean, they just do. And so,
I've noticed seeing larger groups now. There
Yeah.
for a while, they had them so broken up.
Yeah. I mean, last year was the first year in a while where we got back to some good 20s and 30s and even a group of close to 40 to 50 working, building up, and then landing the wad, the true old school Mondo style wad. And so, and that's the thing. There was no spinner. There was nothing but 4 or 5 decoys on a little jerk spreader. You know, don't pull it when they're directly overhead, no string seeing, like old school, just ripple on the water, soft calling. And like back to kind of what it was. We had someone last year set up a few hundred yards above us on public that had a spinner out there. We kept wondering, like, why are they just on the X today and we can't break a duck and they're flying straight to them.
They had an illegal spinner.
Yeah, we slipped through the woods and they got a mojo in the middle of the hole. But ducks were doing the same thing. They'd float it. They were, 3.5 choke treetop and shooting, and that was it. They weren't finishing on it still. What really gets me with that is there was no mention of why the proposal. And that would be interesting to me. Is it because people are saying, well, it's not fair they get to use it here and we can't there? Found out last year more non-residents bought a stamp than residents. So is it trying to get hunter participation back up? I mean, I would like to know the reasoning behind it. I'm not, if they get legal, I'm not going to use one. I don't. If you do,
after
great.
the vote is finished on all this stuff, we need to get somebody on the podcast from the Game and Fish and.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and just be like, hey, like, just we don't care either way. This is not a bashing of them. This is like literally trying to be just. You're curious of where they come up with this. What's the reasoning? Is it participation? Is it the survey? Did a lot of people put in there? We'd love to have them back.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
It would be interesting to see where some of this came from. And well, we hoped every other state would follow suit, and they didn't. So we're just going back to them. Okay, but like, a little bit of reasoning of why would be helpful to understand these proposals. And so
what about, there was also, we talked a little bit about spinning wing last week. What about the budget? They're talking about maybe it affecting the season to some degree, possibly. What's up with that?
From my understanding of all the fiscal budgets from the agencies have to go before legislative oversight to be approved. And the initial proposal from Game and Fish did not get approved. Now, I think there's been some people talk about it wasn't the overall budget. It was some certain key things in there with like salaries for some people being really dramatically increased or money being thrown here and stuff like that. You remember the whole beaver tail, the whole beaver contractors, that's been in the limelight a lot lately. So like Game and Fish was paying like $800 a beaver for one guy to go catch them or something.
Smokes, I didn't know that. And he was a former Game and Fish employee. Like there was just a lot, whether right or wrong, not getting into that, just saying like, I think your government is working for you in the right way. Some people said, hey, hold up, we need to look at this thing. I saw where either the governor or the governor's office come out and said they will have an operating budget put into place. Seasons will continue. We're just fixing to dive in on some of these sidebar deals. So the main operating budget, almost like what the federal does to not shut down, they'll get something. Yeah. But another thing that was in that committee meeting, though, was mud motors again. And so there's already stuff floating around about mud motors again being banned on certain places. And that's a huge thing again.
Now, there's a lot of places that they already are. I mean, you got horsepower limitations on. Yeah,
but the difference with a surface drive, because to me there's a difference in a mud motor and a surface drive. The surface drive motor has been banned in some places in the U.S. because of habitat degradation. So, like, you get down there in swamps, Louisiana, you got some refuges in Mississippi and stuff that ban them because of where they go through and chop up the vegetation and stuff like this and that. I think the biggest complaint from most public duck hunters is when you're sitting in the woods and somebody fires one up and it sounds like Grandpa's 54 Chevrolet with glass packs on it. And, you know, you're like, well, okay, let's just sit down for 5 minutes till that thing gets out of here. You know, and yeah, but I also know outboards, you know, the 3-cylinder Mercury's 59-inch blocks that are bored out and sound just as loud, you know, sitting there. And so my biggest thing with mud motors is, which you can make an outboard with a kick and jack do the same thing, is they can just go where people never went before. So ducks have no rest. It's pressure. If you want good duck hunting, quit pressuring ducks. Let them chill. Right. I mean, that's private ground does that. You know, this is not talking about anybody, but it's no different than if, you know, people are scouting and you hear quacking off in the distance, have your binoculars and look. Don't walk up in there, bust them up and go, okay, here's our hole for tomorrow. They're not coming back most of the time. You just spooked them out of there. Yeah. So I think the thing with the surface drive stuff is just they're getting into places they never were, and that's causing some jumping up of rafts, and that would be my issue.
Good thing is it would let you spread out. You know, that's the thing about public. Everybody's trying to hunt the same hole. So I mean,
I can see
there's benefits.
I can see
the desire.
And I can tell you right now, I mean, the places they can get you, when you get people that have older in age, can't wait as good as they used to, you're taking your grandpa, you got kids, and you can get right into the hole where used to you had to park your boat and walk 300 yards.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a huge benefit to that. But what's the trade-off? And I think Game and Fish has a decision to make on what's the trade-off.
When will they vote
cost
on
benefit?
This? When will we know?
It's typically
they vote in the summer, and in the August meeting, everything's announced.
Yeah.
What historically they've done.
Well, you know, they changed all that up last year when they were trying to announce the new seasons, though.
Yeah.
You know, last year they had already made a vote, like, by May.
Yeah.
And then turned around in July and changed everything back. Or was
so,
and then
approved
it in August.
What's funny is this year it's going to work itself out.
Right.
Because there's actually 3 weeks. You know, the Thanksgiving falls late, so we'll get, if you hunt public land, like I deer hunt on the Cache Refuge, I get my full 9 days without duck hunters running around in the area because duck season will open the following Saturday. And you go, well, duck hunters can't be on the Cache anyway. Come down there, down there and deer hunt on open day of deer season.
That's right.
And so, but if you and the nice thing about that is, and the reason I'm for moving it back is spreading people out. The opening weekend of duck season historically, the second week of deer season basically, every bit of half of the public land in Arkansas is closed for deer hunting.
Right.
Combat that with low water, and you got everybody just hauling butt to 3 places in the state. So now, with the refuges being open, even though there may not be water, there's rivers, there's lakes, there's sloughs, there's oxbows that people hunt. That Monday, the date opens back up, hopefully people will spread out some.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Right.
But
I haven't even looked at that.
This is just a calendar. If they stay where they normally do, where it opens up the Saturday before Thanksgiving, the way it falls this year, deer season's always the second Saturday. Well, that's going to be early because I think the first is like a Friday or Saturday for November. And then Thanksgiving falls to that 4th Thursday, which is late because the first is right after a Thursday. So you're going to actually work yourself out.
Right.
So.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll come back. After they have their meeting, we'll come back. We'll go over what the decisions were, and we'll have a follow-up to this podcast. So we'll go ahead and close this one out. But listen, the next podcast, you guys need to tune in. I hope he's still available. We've got a friend of mine, Adam Lyerly, that's going to come on, that's going to join us, and he has got some amazing stories to tell. So you do not want to miss the last podcast. So, guys, make sure that you like us, subscribe to the channel, and be watching next week. We got more for you. Thanks for being with us. You guys have a good week.
Have a good week, buds.
Get your fire extinguishers.